All right, so today we're going to be diving deep into event sponsorships. Those partnerships that can really make or break an event. We've got a fantastic article here from the Procure for marketing team called Securing Sponsorships, a Guide to Procurement. And we're lucky enough to have an expert with us today who can walk us through all the ins and outs of, really making those sponsorships work.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think sponsorships are just about the money, but it's really so much more than that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, having that extra cash is great, but the article really dives into all those other benefits, beyond just the budget boost. What are some of those things that come to mind for you?
Well, think about it from the attendee's perspective, right?
Yeah.
You go to a conference and there's a sponsor there providing charging stations for everyone's phones.
Right.
Or you're at a music festival and a sponsor's got a cool lounge area set up with free Wi-Fi and shade. It just makes the whole experience better.
Right. It's like those little perks that you don't always think about, but they can really make a difference.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about free stuff either. It's about that feeling of alignment. Like when you see a sponsor that just makes sense for the event, it adds a level of credibility and excitement.
Totally. Like if you're at a gaming tournament and you see a big energy drink brand sponsoring it, it just feels right.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about that synergy. And of course, for the sponsor, it's a huge opportunity to get in front of their target audience.
Yep.
And build those positive associations with their brand.
So it's like a win-win for everybody. The event gets support, the sponsor gets exposure, and the attendees get a better experience.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So how do we actually go about making this magic happen? The article lays out a 6-step roadmap, which seems pretty comprehensive. But where do we even begin?
Well, the first step, and this is crucial, is defining your objectives. What are your goals for this event? What are you hoping to achieve?
So before we even think about approaching potential sponsors, we need to get crystal clear on what we want to accomplish with the event itself.
Yeah, you got to have that foundation in place. Otherwise, you're just shooting in the dark.
Right. It's like trying to build a house without a blueprint.
Exactly. So let's say your goal is to increase attendance by 20% this year. Well, that's going to inform the types of sponsors you target and the kind of packages you put together.
Okay, so step 1, define those objectives. Got it. But how do we go from a list of goals to actually identifying potential sponsors? Feels like there are a million companies out there. Where do we even start?
Well, that's where the research comes in. You got to put on your detective hat. Think about your target audience. What are their interests? What brands do they already love?
So we're looking for those natural connections, brands that already resonate with the people we're trying to reach.
Exactly. And you can also look at similar events. See who they're partnering with. What's working for them.
Oh yeah, that's a smart strategy. Borrowing some inspiration from the pros.
And don't forget about your own network, too. Maybe you have a connection at a company that would be a perfect fit.
Right, it's all about tapping into those resources and really putting in the legwork.
And once you've got a list of potential sponsors, it's time to start crafting those proposals.
Okay, so no more generic mass emails. We're talking about personalized pitches that speak directly to each sponsor's needs.
You've got it. This is where you really showcase your creativity and show those sponsors why they should be excited to partner with you.
So how do we make our proposals stand out from the crowd? Everyone's inbox is flooded with these requests. What's the secret sauce?
It's all about the value proposition. You got to show them what's in it for them. And I don't just mean slapping their logo on a banner.
So we're talking about tangible benefits that align with the sponsor's marketing goals.
Exactly. Think about things like offering them a speaking slot at your conference, giving them a dedicated booth space with prime visibility, or even creating a custom co-branded experience.
Okay, so we're really getting into the nitty-gritty here, crafting these personalized packages that offer real value.
And that's what sets you apart from the competition. You're not just asking for money. You're offering a partnership.
So let's say we sent out these awesome proposals and we're starting to get some bites. What happens next?
Well, that's when the real fun begins. Communication and negotiation.
So it's not just about taking the first offer that comes our way.
Absolutely. You've got to be willing to have those conversations. Find that sweet spot where everyone feels good about the agreement.
So flexibility is key. Being open to feedback and finding creative solutions.
And clear communication, of course. Making sure everyone's on the same page about expectations and deliverables.
Okay, so we've defined our goals, we've identified potential sponsors, we've crafted killer proposals, we've negotiated a win-win agreement. What's the next step?
Contracts and relationship management. And this is where a lot of people drop the ball.
Wait, there's more. I thought getting the sponsor on board was the finish line?
Nope. It's just the beginning.
So there's more to it, huh? I always thought getting that signature was the end of the story.
It's actually more like the beginning. You've got to make sure you've got a solid contract in place that protects both parties.
Okay, so we're talking about dotting our I's and crossing making sure everything's spelled out nice and clear.
Exactly. You don't want to leave any room for misinterpretations or surprises down the road.
Right, because that could sour the whole partnership.
And then the relationship management piece is all about keeping that communication flowing, checking in with your sponsors,
Yeah.
making sure they feel valued and heard.
So we're not just ghosting them once the ink is dry.
Definitely not. You got to nurture those relationships, keep them engaged and informed.
Okay, so we're treating them like the VIPs they are, making sure they know we appreciate their support.
And that can go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
It can lead to stronger partnerships and even more opportunities down the line.
So we're planting seeds for the future, building those long-term relationships.
Exactly. And the final step in this whole process is evaluating success. How did the sponsorship perform? Did it meet your objectives?
Right, because we want to know if all this effort is actually paying off.
And there are a lot of different ways to measure that. You can look at things like website traffic, social media engagement, even sales data.
So we're gathering data from all these different touch points.
And that helps you paint a complete picture of the sponsorship's impact.
So we're not just relying on gut feeling, we're backing it up with cold, hard facts.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so powerful. You can actually see what's working, what's not, and adjust your strategy accordingly.
So it's all about continuous improvement, learning from each experience and getting better and better.
And the cool thing is, technology is playing a bigger and bigger role in this whole process.
Okay, now we're talking. The article mentioned tech, but I'm really curious to hear your take on this. How is technology changing the game?
Well, for starters, there are all these amazing platforms now that can help you identify potential sponsors.
Like matchmaking services for sponsorships. That's wild.
Pretty much. They use AI and all this data to find those perfect fit partners.
So no more manually searching through endless lists of companies.
And then there are CRM systems that can streamline the entire sponsorship management process.
Okay, so we're talking about automation, taking care of those logistical tasks.
Exactly. And then on the event side, we're seeing a lot of really cool innovations in terms of how sponsors engage with attendees.
Like what kind of things?
Well, AR and VR are becoming huge,
Yep, that.
creating these immersive brand experiences.
Wow, so it's not just about seeing a logo on a banner anymore.
Nope. It's about stepping into a whole other world.
That's incredible. It feels like the possibilities are endless.
They really are. And then another big trend we're seeing is the rise of purpose-driven sponsorships.
Okay, I've been hearing a lot about this. What's the deal with purpose-driven sponsorships?
Well, it's all about finding sponsors who align with your event's values.
So it's not just about the money, it's about finding those partners who share your vision.
Exactly. Consumers are becoming more and more discerning. They want to support brands that are making a positive impact.
So events are becoming platforms for social good.
Absolutely. And sponsors are eager to get on board with that.
It's like a win-win-win. The event gets support, the sponsor enhances their brand image, and everyone feels good about contributing to a worthy cause.
And I think this trend is only going to get stronger.
So it's not just a fleeting fad, it's a fundamental shift in how we think about sponsorships.
Exactly. It's about creating those authentic partnerships.
Yeah.
Where everyone's working together toward a common goal.
This is so inspiring. It's like sponsorships are evolving from something transactional to something much more meaningful.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
We're moving beyond just logos and banners toward partnerships that can truly make a difference.
Well said. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. We've covered so much ground, from the nitty-gritty of securing sponsorships to the big-picture trends shaping the industry.
It's been great. I always love talking about this stuff.
Before we wrap things up, I want to put our listeners in the driver's seat for a moment. Imagine you're planning an event. It could be anything: a local fundraiser, a community festival, a virtual conference. How can you use the power of sponsorships to take your event to the next level?
That's a great question, I would say. Start by really digging deep and understanding the heart of your event. What makes it unique? What value does it bring to the community? Once you have that clarity, you can start identifying potential sponsors who share your passion and see the potential for mutual benefit.
It's not just about finding a sponsor. It's about finding that perfect match. That sponsor who really gets what you're all about.
Exactly. And remember, don't be afraid to think outside the box when it comes to those sponsorship packages. Get creative, personalize those proposals, and really showcase that value.
This has been fantastic. I feel like we've really gotten a 360-degree view of the whole sponsorship landscape. You've given us the roadmap, the insights, and I think most importantly, a fresh perspective on what sponsorships can be.
I think that's what it's all about, really.
Mm.
Shifting that mindset from transaction to collaboration, that's where the magic happens.
Couldn't agree more. So a huge thank you to you for sharing your expertise with us today. I know I've learned a ton, and I'm sure our listeners have as well.
It's been my pleasure. Always happy to talk shop.
And to all our amazing listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of securing event sponsorships. We hope you've walked away with some actionable insights and maybe even a little inspiration. Don't forget to check out the show notes for links to that Procure for marketing article and their website. And hey, maybe you'll be the one hosting your own sponsorship workshop someday. Until next time, keep those creative sparks flying and keep diving deep.